Hello everyone, before we begin I want to tell you guys that this is not my own fanfiction. I am translating it and uploading here. So you guys will get one video or 10 chapter per week of this fanfictions. For more information about this fanfictions please check out description. Also tell me in comment section if you like this fanfiction, also like and subscribe. Let's begin. Chapter 1. As a traveler, Chiba Shiroishi felt that he should have the basic qualities of a traveler. To become and integrate into a new world as soon as possible, this is the most important task at present. Although there are many unscientific places in this world, such as seeing someone on the street swooshing like a flea, jumping to the roof of an 8 or 9 meter high building 3 or 2 times, you can also shoot flames from your mouth, invisibly summoning water. These surreal fantasy scenes have made Shiraishi stunned more than once. What kind of magical world is this? Superman. The key is more than one Superman. In this village named Konoha, there are countless such superhumans. After that, Shiraishi realized that these Superman, like human beings, are all beings named ninja. They will use a special energy called chakra, amazing jumping power, and the ability to control all kinds of magical ninjutsu, all of which are inseparable from chakra. After a few days of adjustment, Shiraishi finally realized that he had come to an incredible world. He also has a very detailed understanding of his current identity. He was an orphan in Konoha Village. He had been growing up in Konoha Village's orphanage for a few years. It was not until his 6th birthday a while ago that he was found to have the qualifications to become a ninja, and he left the orphanage. Move out and live alone. The time Shiraishi occupied this body was exactly the day he left the orphanage. This made Shiraishi complain endlessly. What kind of garbage orphanage was he to be kicked out of when he was only 6 years old? I'm afraid it won't let him fend for himself. According to the information provided by the orphanage, his parents died on the battlefield not long after he was born. It is said that the husband and wife were both under the age of 20 when they died, and the bones have not been found. Only the cold name is carved on the consolation monument. Therefore, Shiraishi was a hero. The upper echelons of the village still gave him a lot of convenience in life. After Shiraishi became independent from the orphanage, the entrance fee for the ninja school was free, and a certain amount of alimony was paid every month, including all the inheritance of his parents will be inherited by Shiraishi. From this aspect alone, Shiraishi felt that Konoha Village was a bit human. But everything has to be considered from a comprehensive perspective. Over the past few days, Shiraishi has heard some gossip on the streets of Konoha Village more than once. As a result, he came to a conclusion that terrified him. As long as they are official ninjas, no matter their age, they must go to the battlefield to fight the enemy according to the arrangement of the upper management of the village. According to Shiraishi's knowledge, since the Second Ninja World War is currently taking place, Konoha Village throws a large number of children under the age of 10 into the battlefield every year. 10 years old. More under 10 years old. On the battlefield. You can't even joke like this. You actually need children under 10 years old to go to the battlefield. It is said that there are still 6 or 7-year-old children who graduated from the ninja school early due to their excellent qualifications and were sent directly to the battlefield. At a loss, hesitation immediately occupied Shiraishi's heart. How tight is the front line of Konoha Village, to throw children under the age of 12 into the battlefield? Are you crazy? This Konoha Village, could it be a terrorist organization? Did I actually have to enter a terrorist organization? Thinking of this possibility, Shiraishi looked at the ninja school. Admission notice in his hand, with a complicated look in his eyes, and sat on the ground with a dejected expression. It's over, he must have entered a terrorist organization. Once you enter the ninja school, not only will you be taught all kinds of terrifying killing techniques, but you will also be brainwashed and become a murder tool for the upper classes of the village. Looking at the beautiful village under the sunshine, Shiraishi actually felt a chill. Escape. Where do you flee to? The strength that those ninjas showed was just the tip of the iceberg, and they could crush him to death like an ant. Shiraishi didn't think he could escape from this terrorist organization now. After a period of intense ideological struggle, Shiraishi decided to take one step at a time, and when the right moment came, he must escape from this village. Konoha 30 years, April. Ninja school. Not long after leaving the orphanage, Shiraishi was going to go to the ninja school, which was his only way out. Shiraishi also accepted the very dangerous situation at the moment. Konoha Village is a terrorist organization. Before he is strong enough, he must not be suspicious. One wrong step will lead to suspicion and suspicion from the people around you, and then you will be dealt with in secret. Therefore, Shiraishi couldn't help but be wary of the simple and harmless villagers around him. More and more, I felt that the kind smiles on the faces of these honest villagers were cunning smiles, fox smiles, devil smiles, and they were innocent and harmless like rabbits. Each of their faces was full of thoughts of eating him, and their teeth were stained with blood and sin. This is a reasonable analysis of Shiraishi's current situation. Shiraishi entered the ninja school mixed with the crowd. It was 8 o'clock in the morning. Like Shiraishi, some children came alone, and some were accompanied by their parents. The scene was very lively, it seemed like I was attending a meeting. Shiraishi did not choose to stand beside him silently, giving off an aura that was out of tune with the environment. This is absolutely stupid. You can't attract attention, you must be ordinary, and you must not do anything out of the ordinary. Before officially entering the class, Shiraishi and other freshmen will attend the opening ceremony. As for the so-called opening ceremony, the venue is really simple, that is, a plot of land is carved out on the playground of the ninja school, and hundreds of freshmen are arranged in line according to their heights to face the long-winded and irritable speeches of the adults. The speaker on the stage was a middle-aged man wearing a royal robe, and his smile was very powerful. Shiraishi knew that the middle-aged man wearing the imperial robe was the third Hokage Sarutobi Hiruzen, the current leader of the terrorist organization Konoha Village. A terrible man who inherited the will of the first Hokage and the second Hokage, the leaders of the previous 2 generations of terrorist organizations. Involuntarily, Shiraishi put the label of extreme danger on the harmless and friendly smiling face of third Hokage Sarutobi Hiruzen. The content of Sarutobi Hiruzen's speech was very boring in Shiraishi's view. It's nothing more than a set of pyramid schemes. What the will of fire is great. Konoha Village is bright. All of us are family. Then, from a historical point of view, he explained the great achievements of the previous Hokage, and the hype resonated with everyone present. Except for Shiraishi. But in order not to attract attention, Shiraishi also showed excitement and admiration with the others, as if he was really excited by the achievements of the previous Hokage. This is called political correctness. Chapter 2. After 2 full hours, Sarutobi Hiruzen's speech at the opening ceremony of the Ninja Academy finally finished. Shiraishi's legs were sore from standing there, but he patiently wrote down the contents of Sarutobi Hiruzen's speech. As a traitor, you must not show any dissatisfaction or strangeness before you betray. That is to say, what the third Hokage Sarutobi Hiruzen said is likely to be tested in school. Although the speeches of the third Hokage are cheaper than the chicken soup articles I have seen in my previous life. After the speech, the students exited in order and returned to their corresponding classes. The teachers will have a meeting. The class assigned to Shiraishi is Class A of the first grade. The entire classroom is arranged in steps, and the length of each table can accommodate 3 people, that is, 3 people will share a table. Shiraishi found his name in the middle of the second to last row by the window in the classroom, and the name, Chiba Shiroishi, was written in bold letters. When he found his seat, someone was already sitting on the innermost side by the window. She was a tall, straight black girl who was about the same age as Shiraishi, and she was also 5 or 6 years old. Dragging her chin with one hand, she looked at the playground outside the window very quietly, and there was an unapproachable atmosphere surrounding her. Hello, my name is Chiba Shiroishi, please give me your advice. Try not to attract attention, but you can't be too withdrawn, this is the position Shiraishi has found himself in. So, when he sat down next to the girl, Shiraishi introduced himself first. The other party turned his head slightly, and took away the hand supporting her chin. On her delicate and lovely face, her expression was slightly indifferent and aloof. Her dark pupils released a pure and icy breath like snowflakes, and she spoke to Shiraishi in a condescending tone, Uchiha Ruri. The cold black long straight little Lolita. After the girl named Uchiha Ruri finished speaking, Shiraishi felt that the surrounding temperature dropped a lot. After that, Shiraishi had no idea to talk to Uchiha Ruri again. Sitting quietly in his seat, he flipped through the textbooks that had been prepared on the desktop. There are quite a few types of teaching materials, including Konoha Ninja Village Chronicle, Hokage Quotations, The First Hokage and the Will of Fire. Among them, the book, The First Hokage and the Will of Fire, is placed on the top. Shiraishi read very carefully, because this is an important way to obtain information. Because of the previous speech of third Hokage at the opening ceremony, Shiraishi only had a half knowledge of the Will of Fire, promoted by Konoha Village, and there may be some omissions. Now he wants to deeply interpret what the so-called Will of Fire is all about. Find out more about whether this so-called ninja school is a brainwashing institution. Although Shiraishi no longer has any luck with this village named Konoha. The opening words of The First Hokage and the Will of Fire. Where the leaves dance, the fire is also endless. The firelight will continue to illuminate the village and cause new leaves to sprout. The meaning of this sentence is easy to understand. Young people are the hope of the village in the future, and the older generation should trust the young people and guard them. The sacrifice of the older generation is not worthless, but to encourage the young people to become the pillars who can bear the future of the village. The burning flame of fallen leaves is likened to the heroic sacrifice of the older generation, and the new leaves are likened to the young people. Cycle of reincarnation. This is the core essence of the Will of Fire. At first glance it looks nice and reasonable. But thinking of those children who will be sent to the battlefield under the age of 10. Well, this seems to be using the sacrifices of young people to illuminate the older generation. So, this kind of will is false and empty. At least Shiraishi thinks so. Why other people in Konoha Village didn't discover such an obvious mistake? Shiraishi continued to read, unaware of the passage of time around him. But as each page was turned, Shiraishi felt his lips dry, and a bean-sized cold sweat oozes from his forehead. There is nothing nutritious in this book, and it is full of utopian and dreamy ideas without any value. Is this the will passed down by the god of shinobi? Has he ever read a book? What about the guidelines in Will of Fire? What about the ideology? What about the detailed scales and standards? Shiraishi felt that the contents of this book, The First Hokage and the Will of Fire, were very dazzling. The whole story is about the ideals of the first generation of Hokage, such as family, peace, and child protection. But there is no specific plan. Moreover, it seems that protecting children has not been done. Now in Konoha, a large number of children under the age of 10 are being sent to the battlefield to be sacrificed as cannon fodder. Thus, Shiraishi finally discovered the fact that the words, Will of Fire, were written on every crooked page of this book. But through the backside of these countless, Will of Fire, Shiraishi discovered the content between the words, pyramid schemes. Konoha Village is a terrorist organization. Ninja School is a pyramid scheme brainwashing institution. What is even more frightening is that such books appear in the ninja school openly. What does this mean? It means that the upper echelons of the village have brainwashed all the adults in the village, and then it will be the turn of the new generation of children. Unfortunately, Shiraishi himself will be one of the members brainwashed by this so-called Will of Fire. It wasn't until a soft voice sounded next to his ear that Shiraishi woke up like a dream. Well, are you okay? You've sweated a lot. Is there something uncomfortable? Ah. Shiraishi turned his head and saw a cute girl with long straight black hair like Uchiha Ruri. Compared with the ice on Uchiha Ruri's face, the pure pupils of the other party have obvious soft colors, and they should be the type that is not difficult to get along with. It's just that her eyes are weird. It is a pure white color without impurities. Contact lenses. Are you okay? Your face is sweating a lot. The other party still cared about Shiraishi in a gentle voice. Only then did Shiraishi touch his face. A lot of cold sweat broke out. He shook his head dryly and said, "It's okay, maybe it's because I accidentally drank expired milk last night, and my stomach feels a little uncomfortable." Really? She looked at him suspiciously. "I'm sorry to make you worry. I'm Chiba Shiroishi, how about you? Hyuga Ayane, please give me advice." The other party smiled softly and generously, and Shiraishi was also infected by this pure smile, and seemed relieved and nodded. Uchiha Ruri on the other side glanced thoughtfully at the book Shiraishi had just read, and told her intuitively that Shiraishi was sweating coldly because of the book in his hand, and his eyes were obviously dazed and scared. This made Ruri very curious. "It's just a book, is it scary enough? My deskmate is really a strange guy." Chapter 3. After a while, a young male with an ordinary appearance walked in from outside the classroom. As soon as he entered, he glanced at the 40 or so students in the class and nodded with satisfaction. Under the unified gaze of the students, he calmly walked to the front of the podium and introduced himself to the students. First of all, I would like to congratulate you for passing the test and becoming a student of the ninja school. I am Fujimura Taiga. I will be your classroom teacher until you graduate. I am 23 years old this year. I am a chunin in the village. My hobbies are walking and writing diaries. My dream is to educate excellent students. Shiraishi knew that it must be a self-introduction link from the beginning. But this is also good, just to collect some information, maybe there will be surprises in the future. The students in front quickly introduced themselves. They have various hobbies and dreams, which is very interesting. But thinking of the unstable future of these children, Shiraishi sighed in his heart. But thinking that I am also a kid now, I feel depressed. Before you think about others, make sure you don't die. This abysmal ninja era. Abysmal means very bad or poor. Closing parenthesis. If Konoha Village, known as the head of the 5 great ninja villages, is like this, will the rest of the villages be any better? And I am in Konoha Village, with my fixed thinking mode, it is impossible to change anything. The will of fire has been deeply rooted in this village after nearly 30 years of watering and cultivation. The will of fire handed down from first Hokage must be right. Maybe it was right at the beginning, but the times are always changing with each passing day. Shiraishi really wanted to say something to the Konoha executives, my lord, times have changed. The will of fire is no longer suitable for this era. It is estimated that after saying this sentence, he will disappear from the world. I'm Hyuga Ayane. I don't have anything to dislike for now. My favorite thing is to soak in hot springs. My future dream is to become a great female ninja. The graceful girl, as quiet and beautiful, stood up beside Shiraishi, and introduced herself to everyone in the class with a smile. After the others applauded enthusiastically, as she sat down quietly. It was Shiraishi's turn, and he stood up naturally from his seat. Hi everyone, I am Chiba Shiroishi, my hobby is reading, and my future dream is to become a doctor. Medical ninja or shinobi. Shiraishi in his previous life was a senior physician with good ability. He has a wide range of medical knowledge, is familiar with many medical instruments, and has practiced surgery many times, accumulating very rich experience. According to his advanced knowledge, ninjas are also divided into various types, among which is the medical ninja, which has the nature of assisting nurses. If the goal is medical ninjas, Shiraishi is confident that he can stand out in this regard. But in order not to deceive others, it is necessary to behave a little more ordinary than. Moreover, Shiraishi is indeed very curious about the profession of medical ninja. Ninja School also has a special medical ninja training course, but there are very few people who sign up for this course. Compared with the colorful ninjutsu, the process of learning medicine is undoubtedly boring. Generally speaking, during the ninja school, 1 in 10 students learn medical ninjutsu, which is a very high proportion. In fact, during the ninja school, more than 95% of the students had no interest in medical ninjutsu. They are immature, and they still can't understand why there are such boring courses in school. Shiraishi's introduction was very ordinary, and it was the one that was inconspicuous in the whole class, so it naturally didn't attract too many people's attention. My name is Uchiha Ruri. I have no interest in you guys. I don't plan to share my dreams and interests with weak guys. Don't bother me if you have nothing to do, and don't bother me if you have something to do. If you can do this, let's consider you my classmates. Gently fiddled with the hair on the lower ear side, Uchiha Ruri stood up and introduced herself in a cold and arrogant tone, with extremely cold eyes. But because of her very arrogant tone, she directly offended most of the people in the class. What are you doing, talking so arrogantly based on your cuteness? It's really disgusting. Who would play with a misfit like you? You're so passionate. Uchiha people are really annoying. Immediately there were whispers in the class, all expressing their dissatisfaction and hostility towards Ruri. Humming softly, Ruri sat down with still aloofness. Even if she suddenly became the public enemy of the whole class, it seemed that the other party still planned to do her own way. Aloofness is a noun meaning a state of being distant, remote, or withdrawn. Closing parenthesis. It feels like a troublesome thing to have such an outstanding deskmate. I hope it doesn't attract attention. Shiraishi scratched his head in distress. 2 months have passed. Shiraishi gradually accepted the helpless fact that he was in the lair of an extremely dangerous terrorist organization. Fortunately, his heretic not only hid it very well, and no one noticed anything wrong, but also used the convenience of his status in the ninja school to make himself stronger gradually. In addition to some MLM books about the will of fire, the teaching content in the ninja school still has a lot of practical knowledge. Shiraishi has initially mastered shuriken throwing techniques, chakra refining and application, etc. However, in the practical class, Shiraishi did not perform too outstandingly, and only achieved a moderate grade. Therefore, Shiraishi's popularity with passers-by is still very good. No matter whether it is a male student or a female student in the class, he can chat normally. Although playing some ninja games with these people is naive, but in order not to stand out from the crowd, there is no way to do it, so let's just relax after practicing. But in this way, Shiraishi had to burn the night to read the medical-related books borrowed from the school library. As a doctor in his previous life, Shiraishi understood the importance of this profession too well. Ninjas in this world have supernatural powers, but they are still flesh and blood. If they are flesh and blood, they will get sick and get injured. Medical ninja is definitely not a redundant and useless profession. If you protect yourself as a medical ninja in the future, you can better hide yourself in Konoha Village and find the right time to escape from here. But before that, he had to rely on the power of Konoha Village to make himself stronger, and he also had to use Konoha Village's intelligence network to make himself more deeply aware of the ninja world. So, Shiraishi thinks that he will stay in Konoha Village for at least 10 years, and he will not consider leaving Konoha until he has the ability to protect himself. Acquire knowledge at the ninja school during the day, and conduct various training from 4 p.m. to 9 p.m. Then go home and read medical books until 12 o'clock. Living according to this rhythm is tiring, but being exposed to a mysterious and unknown field also makes Shiraishi feel excited and full of desire to explore. Chapter 4. The Forest Behind the Ninja School. Shuriken and kunai shot from all directions toward Shiraishi. Facing this terrifying scene with a calm face, Shiraishi held a handful of kunai in one hand, twisted his body, and the kunai in both hands quickly cut through the air. Only heard the sound of ding ding ding, and the cremation splash of metal collisions. The kunai and shurikens that flew over were all knocked down by Shiraishi and scattered at his feet. Shiraishi exhaled slightly, looking at the densely packed kunai and shurikens around him. His expression remained calm, as if it was a rare and common thing to do so. But in fact, it is very difficult for a ninja who has officially graduated from ninja school to bounce off such a large number of kunai and shurikens without being injured. Shiraishi was able to do this not only because of his hard work, but also because he has excellent motor nerves and dynamic vision beyond the average person. This is the powerful talent of Shiraishi himself. Moreover, Beishi also used some scientific training methods in his previous life to exercise his motor nerves and dynamic vision to further optimize it. Therefore, Beishi was not surprised that he was able to do this after only 2 months of systematic study. As a senior doctor in his previous life, he had an abnormal understanding of the structure of the human body, and he also knew the importance of the two talents of motor nerves and dynamic vision for a ninja. Powerful dynamic vision allows him to better capture the trajectory of the enemy's movement and attack. Excellent motor nerves allow him to react quickly and gain an advantage in battle. So, even though he already has excellent motor nerves and dynamic vision, Shiraishi still organizes a set of training programs that suit his physical condition, further improves his motor nerves and dynamic vision, and strives to achieve excellence. Shiraishi is very clear that his greatest advantage is not his real motor nerves and dynamic vision, but the huge knowledge of another world in his mind. This is the foundation of his standing. The power of knowledge is infinite. Knowledge can not only cure spiritual ignorance, strengthen one's heart, and know how not to be dominated by ignorance. Knowledge can also treat physical weakness, and know how to use it more quickly and effectively to become stronger. Put away all the kunai and shurikens on the ground. Although these ninja tools have been damaged, Shiraishi's funds are not particularly abundant. Even a piece of iron must be squeezed out of the last trace of value reasonably and cannot be wasted. After all, it is time for him to grow his body now, and he can't treat himself badly in terms of diet to ensure that his body has enough nutrition. After putting away the ninja tools, Shiraishi did not leave, but wrapped white bandages around his fists and legs, and practiced martial arts against a hard wooden stake. It is now night, and the forest behind the ninja school is quiet, only the slight panting of Shiraishi, and the sound of his body colliding with the stake, and time is slowly passing by. The next morning. Good morning, Ayane. After 2 months of getting along, Shiraishi and his deskmate Hinata Ayane are already very familiar, and the address for her seems casual. Good morning, Shiraishi-kun. Compared to Shiraishi's casualness, Ayane, who is a member of the Hyuga clan, has to maintain all kinds of cumbersome etiquette that a big family should have. After getting along these days, Shiraishi also knew that Ayane came from Konoha's wealthy Hyuga clan, and cataract eyes are a traditional characteristic of the Hyuga clan. The ninjas of this family will use a kind of blood successor limit pupil technique called Byakugan, and fight with the family's soft fist, which has a great reputation in the ninja world. You too, good morning, Ruri. Going to his seat and sitting down, Shiraishi greeted the girl on other side with a smile. Uchiha Ruri just glanced at Shiraishi indifferently, without answering, as if admiring herself, watching the playground outside the window as usual. By the way, have you heard, Shiraishi-kun? What? Ayane spoke over there, causing Shiraishi to turn his head and look at her suspiciously. It is said that there will be a practical class today. Practical class. Well, it's also a kind of practical class, but it's not the kind of shuriken throwing, but a practical class for two-person competition. Ayane's voice is soft. Well, for me, this is a bit difficult, but for you, Ayane, it shouldn't be a problem. Among the 3 people in Shiraishi's group, Shiraishi's grades are the most ordinary and inconspicuous. Only the theory test can be regarded as excellent, and whether it is shuriken throwing or physical strength test, they are all average students. Not a poor student, nor a top student. Of course, this is the result of Shiraishi's intention. In contrast, Uchiha Ruri, who has an indifferent personality and speaks no more than 3 sentences all day, firmly occupies the first place in the class, and his grades are the first in both theory and practical classes. Ayane was slightly worse, but she was also at the top 5 level in the class. Like Ayane, Ruri is also from the wealthy family of Konoha, Uchiha. Possesses a blood succession limit pupil technique called Sharingan. However, the probability of opening Sharingan is lower than that of the Hinata clan, but its power is stronger than that of Byakugan. Not only that, the ninjas of the Uchiha clan are proficient in shuriken and fire escape. Shiraishi also gradually understood these things. Shiraishi couldn't help but sigh, as expected of being born in a wealthy family. At the starting line, there is no comparison for ordinary people. Let's work hard together, Shiraishi-kun. Ayane encouraged Shiraishi. Okay, if the time comes to team up with Ayane, you must remember to be merciful. Shiraishi didn't want to show his true strength, that's why he only got moderate scores in all the previous tests. The position of neither up nor down is just right for Shiraishi. Therefore, if Ayane is the opponent, Shiraishi has already considered it. It is the most correct judgment to lose the battle after gritting his teeth for a while. I am just an ordinary person and cannot achieve too impressive results. Of course, if you use all your current strength to fight Ayane, you might be more likely to lose. After all, she is a member of the famous Hyuga clan, and usually there will be elders who will give her extra course tutoring. There is a huge gap between civilians and ninjas of the family system. I just need to maintain the normal standard that civilians should have. That's what I said, but the ending is always unexpected. In the first actual combat class, as Ayane said, homeroom teacher Fujimura Taiga organized the first actual combat test for Class A of the first grade. 2 pairs played against each other. He himself held a notebook and stood outside the circle as if he wanted to record something. The person in the group with Shiraishi was not Ayane, but another tablemate, Ruri. As famous as the Hyuga clan, a genius girl from the Uchiha clan of Konoha wealthy family. In the actual combat class, the shurikens used by the students are all made of wood, and the sharp parts have been ground to make the edges and corners smooth. Even if they are hit on the human body, they will only feel pain and will not be life-threatening. It's really boring, even using this kind of toy. To compete. The Uchiha girl standing side by side with Shiraishi glanced at the two boys of the same age who were fighting in the field with haughty eyes, showing obvious contempt on her face. Well, Ruri-san, isn't it good to say that? We are still first-year students. Shiraishi hesitated for a moment on his face, and reminded Ruri in a low voice not to provoke public anger. For most students, using regular shuriken and kunai directly at the beginning can easily cause bloodshed. Compared to others, you'd better worry about yourself. I won't be merciful when I play. Shiraishi smiled awkwardly, and stopped talking. Time passed quickly, and it was time for Shiraishi to play. Chapter 5. Shiraishi and Ruri walked to the arena according to the rules, and prepared wooden shuriken and kunai in the ninja bag in advance. They are all toy weapons with low lethality after grinding off the sharp parts. Shiraishi and Ruri stood opposite each other, and first solemnly made a seal of opposition to each other. Start. Homeroom teacher Fujimura Taiga saw the two of them taking their seats, and shouted loudly. As soon as Shiraishi finished speaking, before Shiraishi took any action, Ruri, who was standing opposite, quickly took out several wooden shurikens from her ninja bag, pierced the air, and let these shurikens quickly approach Shiraishi's body, and they all flew precisely towards his vitals. Shiraishi's face was slightly startled, and he rolled sideways. Although he looked embarrassed, he barely escaped Ruri's first round of attack. He was about to stabilize his posture, when Ruri was out of his field of vision. A strong wind came from behind, and Shiraishi turned back, only to see the shadow of a leg, the toe of which hit his chest, causing him to fly out. Lost instantly. Oh, I thought I could hold on for a while longer. Ruri is really strong. Shiraishi held his chest, stood up from the ground, and looked as if he had exhausted all his strength to get up, and his face suddenly showed bitterness and unwillingness. Ruri didn't respond to Shiraishi's disappointed expression, but just glanced at Shiraishi's face, then raised her chin, and left the venue proudly, shaking her long black hair. This is a genius. But don't be discouraged, Shiraishi-san, you are the most hard-working student I have ever seen, and you will definitely become a great ninja in the future. Fujimura Taiga liked students like Shiraishi who listened carefully in class and loved reading. He was afraid that he would be hit because of this rapid defeat in actual combat, so he came up and patted him on the shoulder to comfort him. I'm fine, Mr. Fujimura. That's good, go down and have a good rest, don't think too much. Seeing a little loneliness on Shiraishi's face, Fujimura Taiga didn't expose it. In his view, Shiraishi worked so hard to improve himself, and the hardships he put in must be inhumane. As a result, he was easily ended in 2 moves in actual combat, which must have dealt him a great blow. But in the face of such an excellent genius as Ruri, Fujimura Taiga knew that Shiraishi's ability to persist in 1 move was already very remarkable. In his eyes, Ruri's strength is no different from that of the ninja in the village. Shiraishi's defeat so quickly was a natural outcome. Time passed bit by bit, and the day passed like this. After a quick dinner, Shiraishi returned to the forest clearing on the mountain behind the school as usual, where he practiced with wooden stakes. Shiraishi's speed is very fast. As for the strength of each blow, judging from the degree of collision between the limbs and the stake, the strength of each blow of Shiraishi cannot be underestimated. Shiraishi has a normal face and steady breathing. While hitting the wooden stake, he is also adjusting the rhythm of his breathing. This can save his energy as much as possible and increase the duration of the battle while ensuring considerable speed and strength. While Shiraishi was immersed in this kind of ecstasy of cultivation, there was a sharp sound of piercing the air, and a kunai flew in the air, causing Shiraishi to react quickly and jump back to avoid being shot by the kunai that suddenly appeared. Shiraishi frowned and looked deep into the woods. It is already after 8 o'clock in the evening, and only the moonlight can vaguely illuminate the dark place in the woods, so that nothing can be seen. A short figure came out from the darkness, with long black hair dancing in the evening wind, with exceptionally bright black pupils, and his sharp gaze swept over, making Shiraishi's nerves tense. This girl is Shiraishi's deskmate, Uchiha Ruri. Afterwards, Shiraishi scratched his head and said with a relaxed smile on his face. It's you, Ruri, it's so late, what are you doing here? To be honest, I'm really not reconciled to being easily defeated by Ruri during the day, so I came here. Before finishing speaking, Ruri interrupted coldly, fight me with all your strength. Ah. Full strength or something, that's my full strength during the day. Shiraishi stammered, as if he didn't quite understand the meaning of Ruri's words. I said, fight me once with all your strength. Student Ruri, what are you talking about? Seeing Shiraishi pushing around and pretending to be crazy, Ruri showed a trace of impatience on her cold face. She took out a kunai, held it in her hand, and put it towards Shiraishi's neck without hesitation. Different from the wooden ninja training tool during the day, what Ruri holds in her hand is a murder weapon that can easily cut Shiraishi's throat. The most frightening thing is that Ruri attacked very fast. After seeing this, Shiraishi became serious. The speed that Ruri showed at this moment was even faster than the speed she used during the day when she was practicing against him. Shiraishi didn't dare to be careless, and also held a kunai to block Ruri's attack. Sparks sparked between kunai and kunai. Two pairs of silent, pitch-black pupils pierced the night air, looking at each other, revealing a serious look. Student Ruri, were you planning to kill me just now? Snort. Still as cold as ever, with long black hair dancing under the moonlight, using the hair as a cover, kunai stabs at Shiraishi's heart from a dangerous angle. Shiraishi barely blocked it, and then quickly put a safe distance between him and Ruri, with an even more serious expression on his face. From the moment just now, Shiraishi knew that his speed and strength would never be inferior to Ruri, but Ruri had more actually combat experience, and with the difference in actual combat experience, Shiraishi knew that his probability of winning was very low. Fortunately, Ruri did not choose to continue to attack after a short trial, but gave Shiraishi a strange look, and the arrogance on her face also restrained, and asked, "It's so strange, it's obviously you're very strong, why do you want to hide your strength on purpose?" This question is really not easy to answer, and Shiraishi couldn't find a suitable lie to convince Ruri, so the scene suddenly fell silent. While Shiraishi was racking his brains on how to get around, he heard Ruri continue to say, "Forget it. Since I know that you are hiding your strength, my goal has been achieved, so I will leave now." Leaving this sentence behind, Ruri left without looking back. What a weird girl. Shiraishi muttered, she probably wouldn't tell anyone about his hidden strength, right? If that's the case, things will really get troublesome. Thinking of Ruri's inhuman appearance, she shouldn't be the type to meddle in other people's business. Thinking of this, Shiraishi suddenly felt much relieved. However, a child saw through the truth, and even Fujimura Taiga, the head teacher of the Chunin class, couldn't detect it. Shiraishi really realized one thing: even a child is a ninja after all, and there should be no contempt. I have to be more careful in the future. Chapter 6. Good morning, Ruri. He greeted Ruri as usual, but Ruri turned her head to look at him and nodded, which was regarded as a response. Shiraishi was slightly taken aback. He thought that Ruri would ignore his greetings as before. Being able to respond to his greetings is because his strength has been recognized, right? After all, Ruri said in the initial self-introduction that she doesn't intend to share things with weak guys. That is to say, Ruri only recognizes powerful people, and probably doesn't bother to answer greetings from weak people. It's really a simple and rude code of conduct. Well, what happened last night, can you? Shiraishi looked a little embarrassed, and continued to chat with Ruri with a flattering smile. Ruri glanced at Shiraishi and said, "Understood, I won't tell, and I will keep this secret for you. But on the other hand, if I request you for cultivation, you are not allowed to refuse it." Shiraishi breathed a sigh of relief, and said with a smile, "Of course, I am very happy." Soon, Hyuga Ayane, the deskmate on the other side, arrived. After greeting Shiraishi, she sat down and communicated with the girl at the front desk. The class bell rang, and the first class today is MLM brainwashing class. This is the so-called will of fire spread. Taking out the book, The First Hokage and the Will of Fire, Shiraishi felt that this kind of course was pure suffering for him, but he had to pretend to listen hard. Political correctness must be disguised in place. Not long after, Shiraishi felt that someone had poked his right arm with a finger. Shiraishi turned his head and saw Ruri, who was pretending to listen carefully. Afterwards, he lowered his head and saw a note with words written on it, which said, "You hate this kind of course." This sentence. Shiraishi decisively took out a note, thought for a while, and replied to Ruri with a sentence. "No, I think Mr. Fujimura spoke very well. In the future, I also want to inherit the will of fire of the first generation of Naruto and become a great Konoha ninja. Closing curly bracket. Ruri turned her head and gave Shiraishi a dissatisfied look. She could see right away that Shiraishi was lying to her. When you opened the book, the first Hokage and the will of fire, on the first day of school, I saw that your expression was wrong. What are you afraid and worried about? Closing curly bracket. I had a stomachache from eating expired bread that day, so I looked bad. Closing curly bracket. Are you trying to deceive me? Remember at the beginning of school, didn't you tell Ayane that your stomach hurts because you drank expired milk? Closing curly bracket. Quote. Shiraishi was embarrassed. He doesn't even remember it, but Ruri still remembers it. It's true, I never tell a lie. Closing curly bracket. You are a man I recognize, and I will keep it a secret for you. Closing curly bracket. The two passed the note back and forth, and Shiraishi found that chatting with Ruri was much more interesting than listening to this kind of pyramid scheme class. Just then, someone poked his left arm lightly with a finger. Shiraishi turned his head and found that it was Ayane, who, like Ruri, pretended to be listening carefully and handed over a small note. What are you two talking about? Closing curly bracket. She seems very interested in intervening in the topic between Shiraishi and Ruri. Women's gossip. Shiraishi paused for thought, tore off a note and replied. We're talking about the new Ichiraku ramen shop in the village that serves delicious ramen. Closing curly bracket. After receiving it, Ayane wrote another sentence back. Is it a ramen? I also know that although it is new, the ramen there is really good. Shiraishi-kun, let's go eat together after school. Closing curly bracket. Okay. Closing curly bracket. Shiraishi didn't think too much, wrote something on the note and passed it to Ruri. Ruri-san, let's go to Ichiraku ramen shop after school in the afternoon. The ramen there is delicious, and Ayane-san will be there too. Closing curly bracket. Casual. Closing curly bracket. Casual means, agree. Shiraishi nodded. The homeroom teacher Fujimura Taiga, who was seriously lecturing at the podium, looked helplessly at the three students who kept making small movements there. Do you think my head teacher is blind? Then seeing the three of them still happily passing notes and whispering, Fujimura Taiga realized that he had reached the limit of his patience. Hey, you three, don't secretly pass notes in class, just stand outside and listen to the lecture. Don't think the top students can do whatever they want in class. Fujimura Taiga felt that he had to look like a head teacher. The brats this year are too arrogant, they have to show some color. The three did not resist anything, and stood outside as punishment. I thought I was doing it very covertly, Mr. Fujimura would not be able to see it, but I didn't expect to be discovered. Ayane smiled helplessly with a fluke mentality. Ruri said lightly, I thought he wouldn't care about us if he saw it. He is still a chunin in his 20s. Let a chunin of this level teach us ninja knowledge. Now I am deeply worried about the teaching quality of the ninja school. In Ruri's eyes, the three geniuses can do whatever they want in class. This is the unique privilege of being a genius. Shiraishi. Hey, 2 days is enough for you. Do you really think Mr. Fujimura can't hear you outside? It's just that Ayane, who is usually honest and quiet, has a naughty side. Ichiraku Ramen Shop. This is a newly opened ramen shop in Konoha Village. Although the business does not seem to be very hot now, Shiraishi was deeply attracted by the delicious ramen here after eating it once. It is only a matter of time before it becomes popular. I'm here for a treat tonight, you can eat whatever you want, as much as you can. After school in the afternoon, he brought Ayane and Ruri to the Ichiraku ramen shop and sat down, Shiraishi said with great pride. Mainly how much can these two small girls can eat? 3 people can have up to 4 or 5 large bowls of ramen. Shiraishi still has some money. Ruri didn't finish speaking, but Ayane hesitated for a while and said, well, Mr. Shiraishi, it's better for us to pay our own. It's okay, Ayane, don't worry about my wallet, I can still afford a few bowls of ramen. Shiraishi smiled indifferently and said. After hearing what Shiraishi said, Ayane couldn't refuse anymore. Okay, if the wallet can't support it, please tell me, I will stop it. Quote. Shiraishi looked at Ayane with some doubts, not knowing what she meant by this sentence. In short, you just need to eat with your belly open. I will refund all the ramen for tonight. After Shiraishi finished speaking, he started ordering and asked the boss to bring up the ramen as soon as possible. The owner of Ichiraku Ramen is a man in his 30s, followed by his son, a handsome young man named Kyuki. I have to say that the ramen of Ichiraku Ramen is really delicious. Shiraishi ate 2 bowls in one go. Then he looked towards Ruri and found that she only ordered a bowl. After all, girls have a small appetite. Then, Shiraishi looked at Ayane again. He opened his mouth, but couldn't say a word. What is that tall pile? How much did Ayane eat? 1, 4, 7, 9, 13. The number of bowls continues to increase. Shiraishi felt extremely heartbroken. My wallet. Ayane noticed that Shiraishi and Ruri were looking at her with bewildered eyes, so she blushed a little bit shyly, stopped eating ramen, her voice was inaudible. Actually, my appetite is just a little bigger than others. If they hadn't seen the big bowls piled up in front of Ayane, Shiraishi and Ruri would have believed it. It's like this when you're young, what about when you grow up? Shiraishi couldn't help but worry about Ayane's future husband. If you eat like this every meal every day, most people really can't afford it. Chapter 7. Since that day, Shiraishi never said that he would invite Ayane to dinner casually. Because that could mean he's broke. This girl eats so much, I, Chiba Shiroishi, would like to call her the strongest. Time passed slowly like this, and the days passed day by day. Because of the ramen incident, the relationship between the three became much closer to each other. After all, we had a deep friendship of eating ramen together. Shiraishi's performance in the class is still not so impressive. Compared with the 2 gifted girls at the same table, his grades can only be described as mediocre. Another month passed in a flash. During this month, Shiraishi and Ayane got closer, but their relationship with Ruri got closer even faster. Of course, it is a very pure friendship. After all, Ruri is the only one who knows that he hides his true strength. If he shows his true strength, he will definitely be ranked among the top 3 in the class. The reason for the closer relationship with Ruri is that Ruri often looks for Shiraishi for physical skill exchanges after school in the afternoon. And this kind of physical skill competition, whether it is Shiraishi or Ruri, both are extremely satisfied with the superb skills of the other party. Although Shiraishi doesn't have much actual combat experience, she can learn from Ruri. Ruri has a special private teacher in the Uchiha family who teaches her fighting skills, and these skills are also passed on to Shiraishi by her, so that Shiraishi can gradually approach her actual combat level and verify each other's growth. Shiraishi's growth was beyond Ruri's expectation. With the in-depth communication with Shiraishi, she found that she gradually couldn't suppress Shiraishi, and she estimated that she would be suppressed by him and completely crushed by him. This kind of thing is unbearable for Uchiha Ruri, who is a genius. Every week, she had been taught fighting skills by the elite jonin of the family. In just 1 or 2 months, the boy she had been suppressing turned against her. This made her Uchiha genius name cast an indelible stain. Therefore, the initiative must be regained and she should be the one suppressing the boy again. Get back the prestige of the Uchiha clan. Why is your strength growing so fast? Ruri asked the doubts in her heart. In her opinion, Shiraishi must be hiding some secret to become stronger quickly. Otherwise, it is impossible for a commoner to maintain the same strength and growth rate as her without anyone teaching. Otherwise, the problem is caused by Shiraishi himself. Shiraishi was slightly taken aback, and said, I'm just practicing step by step. Impossible, if so, you can't grow so fast. You must be hiding something. I really didn't hide. Yeah. Ruri still looked at Shiraishi suspiciously. Well, I have been practicing according to my method. Shiraishi said seriously. He really had nothing to hide. Ruri taught him so many fighting skills. He is very grateful. If not for Ruri, his strength would not have grown so fast. Your method. Ruri discovered the blind spot. Yes, I have a set of scientific exercise programs tailored for myself, which can effectively improve my dynamic vision and neural responsibility. Shiraishi answered honestly. Then show me your scientific plan. Hearing Ruri's request, Shiraishi did not refuse. If it was another person, he would need to think about it. However, his strength can grow so fast, and it's thanks Ruri's assistance to him. Treat people with sincerity, of course Shiraishi can't be stingy. He took out a small notebook from the ninja bag and put it in Ruri's hand. His scientific exercise program is recorded in this notebook. Ruri opened it and looked at it seriously. The more she looked at it, the weirder her face became. Because it's so common. Most of the exercise methods written by Shiraishi are not secrets, and most of them are known to Ruri. Except for some strange training methods, Ruri is not clear. Train yourself according to the above, can you really become stronger? A big question mark appeared in Ruri's heart. Shiraishi knew that Ruri was suspicious, because the physical exercise plan he customized for himself was not difficult in general, but some parts were more difficult to do, but most of them were easy to understand. But Shiraishi knows that this is the most scientific exercise program that fits the human body. But compared to these scientific exercises, Shiraishi feels that the chakra of this world is truly incredible. Why chakra can turn into fire, into lightning, into a storm. This is very interesting. Compared to the magic of chakra, Shiraishi feels that his scientific exercise program is just like pediatrics. This scientific exercise method is just to enhance Shiraishi's dynamic vision and nerve reflex ability, as well as maintain the body's flexibility and certain ability to resist blows. Compared with the magical energy of chakra, it is indeed mediocre. Ruri has this kind of doubt in his heart. Shiraishi can understand it. If I exercise according to the scientific exercise plan above, will I also become stronger as quickly as you? This is what Ruri cares about. It's a bit uncertain, because it is adjusted at any time according to my physical growth. Basically, I have to change a new plan every month. Shiraishi said so. Ruri nodded in understanding. What suits Shiraishi may not necessarily suit her. So, Ruri took a serious look and said, make a training plan that suits me. She wants to try whether Shiraishi's method is really effective. Just. Shiraishi scratched his head in embarrassment, a little embarrassed to speak. What? You don't want to? Ruri's black and white eyes immediately became dangerous, shining with a fierce light. It's not for this reason, but if you want me to formulate a scientific exercise program suitable for you or for other people's, you must start from their bodies. To put it simply, it is to proceed from reality and seek truth from facts. Only when you understand the other person's physical condition can you only tailor it for them. Shiraishi's eyes suddenly became unnatural, scanning Ruri's petite body intentionally or unintentionally, and then quickly looked away as if afraid. Really, he is not Duluo, nor does he refine copper. Ruri's indifferent face was suddenly stained with a blush. She understood the hidden meaning of Shiraishi's words very well. Ruri took a deep breath, and looked at Shiraishi with cold eyes, as if looking at a dead person. Come and touch. Good. No, what did you just say? Touch what? Shiraishi was dumbfounded. Thought that Ruri would retreat in spite of difficulties, but he didn't expect that she would say that. Hurry up and touch me. If you dare to touch other places casually, you will die. The fierce threat to Shiraishi. Shiraishi felt that he would be killed in the past. Finally, Shiraishi formulated a scientific exercise plan for Ruri. Before Ruri left, he said that if this exercise plan didn't work, she would definitely cause him a real physical death. Chapter 8. After that day, Shiraishi felt that his relationship with Ruri had become very strange. Although on the surface there is no difference from usual, when it is time to pass notes in class, I still pass notes, and I still practice as usual at night, but Ruri seems to have changed into the same way as when I first saw her, silent and cold, and rarely speaks. A few days passed like this. Shiraishi went to school as usual that day, but when the first class was about to start, Shiraishi found that Ayane on the left hadn't arrived. Shiraishi finds this very strange. Ayane, as a branch member of the wealthy Hyuga clan, although her status is definitely not as good as that of the main family, she still maintains the code of conduct that a wealthy family should have, and it is impossible to skip classes and be late. Until the first class was about to end, there was a sound of footsteps outside the door. It was a girl with straight black hair, waist length. Ayane stood alone at the door, without saying a word, biting her lip, as if she was about to bite her lip. An atmosphere of sadness and despair enveloped her. What's even more strange is that there is a white ribbon tied on Ayane's forehead, which doesn't look ugly, but I always feel that the sudden change is a bit too abrupt. Before this, Ayane would never wear such a sensational ribbon ornament on her forehead. Ms. Fujimura, the homeroom teacher, took a look at Ayane and wanted to reprimand Ayane, but when she noticed the deep despair and sadness in Ayane, he sighed softly, as if he knew something, and said flatly, "Come in, remember not to be late next time." Ayane nodded, and under the weird and puzzled gazes of everyone, she walked to her seat and sat down. "Hi, Shiraishi-kun, good morning." Ayane tried her best to greet Shiraishi as usual, but in the end she smiled reluctantly, and the tears in her eyes seemed to flow uncontrollably. Then without waiting for Shiraishi to respond, she buried her head on the table, as if it was a shame to be seen like this, and would be ridiculed and despised by others. And all this happened, and the rest of the students looked at her with strange eyes, whispered, pointed, and seemed to know something. But the students who didn't know the truth were just curious and worried about Ayane. Shiraishi's face was full of question marks, but he was sensible and didn't ask. Ruri looked past Shiraishi, glanced at Ayane, but didn't speak. "Ruri, do you know what happened to Ayane? Because the relationship is further advanced, the suffix of classmate has been cancelled." Pass the note with this question to Ruri. The same wealthy family, Ruri must know something. What else can it be? Of course it is the excellent tradition of the Hyuga clan. The word good was put in quotation marks. Obviously, Ruri's words were full of irony. Hyuga clan's excellent tradition. Shiraishi didn't know what it was, but Ayane's behavior like this must be inseparable from the excellent tradition of the Hyuga clan. What exactly is it? Really? Couldn't think of any reason why, so Shiraishi gave up. At noon, Shiraishi and Ruri ate bento together. "Hey, Ruri, what is the tradition of the Hyuga clan you're talking about?" Still unable to hold back his curiosity, Shiraishi asked this question. Ruri was silent for a moment, and replied, "This matter is not a secret among ninjas, and the Chunin and Jonin in the village have basically heard about it. The Hyuga clan has had a tradition that is difficult to accept since ancient times. That is the distinction between the main family and the branch family. Is there a problem with the distinction between the main family and the branch family? The branch family must bear the responsibility and obligation to protect the head family. This is also normal." Shiraishi couldn't understand. It is not very fair for those with low protection status and high protection status, but this is a stable, social structure. Society is class and hierarchical. Therefore, in Shiraishi's eyes, it is a normal development trend for people from the Hyuga clan to protect those from the Hyuga clan. If it's just like this, it's really not a rare thing. But in order to let the branch family wholeheartedly protect the main family, and in order to prevent the blood of the Hyuga clan from spreading outside, there is a reason to control the branch family. Control. Shiraishi was taken aback. That's right, control in the true sense. Ruri glanced at Shiraishi and said seriously, "For the safety of the main family, the branch family must take the initiative to bear a curse seal called Caged Bird, which means that the main family holds the power of life and death of the branch family. Once the members of the branch family become unruly, or fail to fulfill the obligations and responsibilities that the branch family should perform, the main family can use the curse seal to instantly execute the branch family members who have the curse seal." In other words, Ayane's life and death is now in the hands of an outsider. If Ayane becomes dissatisfied and intends to kill someone from the main family, the people from the main family have the right to beat and scold Ayane, or even execute her. Shiraishi thought of something and said, "Then, is the location of the curse seal at?" That's right, the curse mark that was planted was on Ayane's forehead. That's why Ayane used a cloth belt to block it. Whether it's righteousness, or protecting the clan in name, it is said that it is the existence meaning of the division, and that curse mark is a real, slave, mark. Shiraishi was silent. A voice kept telling him that Konoha is a terrorist organization, and it is normal for such things to happen in terrorist organizations. Although he was very repulsive, Shiraishi found that he couldn't do anything. This is the helplessness and compromise called reality. For Ayane, having the mark of slave engraved on her forehead is more cruel than killing her directly. Really, what a terrible error this is. If this kind of thing happens in a dark corner, Shiraishi can reluctantly accept it, but the rules of the Hyuga clan are open to the public. Bringing the other half of his clan as slaves, openly, without any cover-up, what does it mean? Shiraishi looked at Konoha's shadow rock from here, and the 3 Hokage sculptures carved with Konoha symbolized the great achievements of those 3. Especially the first Hokage and the second Hokage brothers, they are known by the world as the people who ended the troubled times of the Warring States period. And after that, the war continues. It is no different from the Warring States period, and children will still be sent to the battlefield. Nothing seems to have changed. The only thing that has changed is that the ninjas have formed a larger village from the ninjas, and the one country, one village system has been established. Shiraishi suddenly felt that the existence of will of fire was full of irony. If the so-called family is only at this level, then the tradition of the Hyuga clan is incompatible with Konoha from the very beginning. Ninjas like this should not be allowed to join the Konoha ninja village dominated by the will of fire. The tradition of this family is the best interpretation of denying the will of fire. Can't even love their own clansmen. Can you believe that such a family will have the belief in loving and caring for the whole village? Shiraishi put a big question mark on this issue. Finally sighed and said nothing. Growing up with Ruri these days, he has almost forgotten that he is a heretic to this village, and he will become a traitor sooner or later. But the peaceful life made him almost forget that he was a traitor, and he couldn't help but want to integrate into this village. Thinking of this, Shiraishi was sweating coldly. Ease leads to corruption. From the very beginning, he didn't have the slightest surrender to Konoha. He is very grateful to Konoha for teaching him the knowledge of ninjas, but it is only for this teaching. Chapter 9. In the following days, Shiraishi often saw Ayane living alone in the school. Suddenly she had no friends, nor the so-called desire for life. Her eyes were empty, like a walking dead. This may be the real attitude of a slave in life. It is estimated that in this lifetime, it is impossible to get out of this shadow. Shiraishi doesn't know what kind of mood a girl who clearly yearns for freedom is defined as a slave by her closest clansmen. But it must be full of despair and pain that ordinary people can't imagine. After that day, Ayane's grades plummeted, and the homeroom teacher Fujimura Taiga didn't say anything about her, and could only give her some trivial comfort and encouragement, so that she could study with peace of mind and don't think about anything. Although he really wants to help his students, the tradition of the Hinata clan will not be changed by a school teacher who is nothing like him. Fujimura Taiga understands this very well, and he also knows that there is no way to solve this kind of thing by asking the third Hokage for help. These giants are like small villages in Konoha Village. Many regulations of Konoha Village do not control their internal affairs. Shiraishi saw it very clearly. The comfort of words is useless to Ayane. It can only enlighten her from another level. Spiritual wounds can only be healed with spiritual medicine. Using pain to torture one's body has always been a good medicine to divert mental numbness. Only by using this physical pain, can Ayane feel that she is truly alive now. I am still a person, not a livestock, raised by the family. She didn't understand what the family tradition meant, and she didn't want to figure it out, nor did she want to figure it out. Although those adults kept enlightening her, saying that planting the caged bird curse mark on her body was for her own good and for the sake of the family's inheritance. All her sacrifices are not meaningless, but worthwhile. If this is the case, why don't people from the clan sacrifice themselves? This questioning thought kept popping up in Ayane's mind. The more she thought about it, Ayane felt that her heart was filled with a dark feeling that wanted to destroy everything. Hatred also began to intensify. With such thoughts of hatred and anger, her fair and gentle face also became a little ferocious, with a hint of ferocity added, without the gentleness it used to have. Using the soft fist of the Hyuga clan to attack the wooden post, gradually, during the swing, her soft fist also gradually changed its taste. There was no soft fist at all, but she simply vented directly at the wooden post with her fist, becoming fierce and hard. Even if the fist was bleeding and the pain continued, there was no tendency to stop. Rather, using this pain to divert her mental numbness is exactly what she hopes. After a while, she stopped this self-harming way of venting, and squatted next to the stake, with her hands hugging her knees, her head drooping, her long black hair covering her face, and only a slight sobbing sound could be heard. The sun was setting, and the woods were shrouded in darkness. It's almost dark. The air in the forest has also become a bit cold. Dark green leaves fell on Ayane's shoulders, and she was still sobbing softly. Suddenly at this moment, the sound of slow footsteps came from the dark woods, which made her stop crying suddenly. So you are hiding here, but this place is really suitable for a person to lick the wound alone. This voice, Ayane, was very familiar, and she couldn't help raising her head to look at the person coming. That was her deskmate, Chiba Shiroishi. A truly ordinary person. Civilian with inconspicuous grades, average student. That's all he is. Although the relationship with him was quite harmonious before, she is not in the mood to deal with an irrelevant outsider like him now. Why are you here? She didn't call out the other party's identity with the gentle title of Shiraishi-kun, as before. On the contrary, her voice became stiff and unfamiliar. Ayane was puzzled as to why Shiraishi came here, but there was a feeling of being spied on and discovering a secret, which made her very annoyed. There are many reasons, but most of them are drawn to the hatred and anger in your heart. I am actually the same as you. Shiraishi showed a meaningful smile on his face. Same as me. Ayane was stunned, not understanding what Shiraishi was talking about. Shiraishi came out from the darkness, with a slight smile in his steady black eyes. Yeah, like you, I am a part of this twisted and unknowingly boring village. Even the insignificant part, commonly known as the humble thing whose destiny is controlled by others. Ayane choked for breath. Shiraishi's ordinary image suddenly became another stranger in his mind. It's like getting to know your deskmate again. Is he expressing dissatisfaction and hostility towards the village? Why would he have such an idea? But when Shiraishi said this, Ayane didn't know why, but her heart was filled with joy-like resonance. You are very confused, aren't you? Shiraishi asked again with a smile. Confused? What are you wondering about? Facing Shiraishi's inexplicable question, Ayane frowned, and there was a hint of vigilance in her pure white eyes. Do you already feel that you are inferior? As soon as Shiraishi said this, Ayane's chest was filled with a strong murderous aura. These words have already hurt her personality and self-esteem. All the negative emotions rushed into her heart, causing Ayane to lose her mind in an instant. Her figure rushed towards Shiraishi quickly, and vigorously shook her fist at Shiraishi's body. Shiraishi smiled slightly. Ayane, who was dominated by anger and thus lost her composure, her attack has become weak and deceptive, without any rules. There is absolutely no need to be on guard against an attack of this level. She said in his heart. So, catch the fist that Ayane swung, and then counterattack, pressing her whole body against the tree next to her, preventing her from moving. The situation was reversed in an instant. It may be that the defeat was too sudden, so Ayane froze immediately. It was completely unexpected that this would be the result. Have you been hiding your strength? Why are you doing this? Turning back to him, Ayane asked this question. What the heck? But before we get into that, how about we talk about your business? Shiraishi said in a gentle voice. HMPH, what do commoner like you know? Don't make me laugh. Ayane said with a voice that wanted to crush Shiraishi's throat. How does a civilian know how about her situation? She was planted with a caged bird, and everything in her life in the future will be dominated and planned by those high-ranking clans. The so-called freedom and dignity have been ruthlessly deprived from now on. Whenever she sees the superior arrogance on the faces of those clans, she has a feeling that she wants to trample that arrogance under her feet. Let them also try. How humiliating and hopeless it is to be played with dignity and freedom. Chapter 10. Indeed, I don't quite understand how painful you are feeling right now. Why do families that love each other divide into main clans and branch clans, and even clans have to enslave the life and death of the clans? What's more unfortunate is that you are one of the enslaved people. Ayane bit her lip, and looked at Shiraishi stubbornly, without fear. Then think about it further. What do you think of this village? The village. To put it simply, do you think the village's current approach is correct? Is the will of fire correct? Are you an idiot? Of course the will of fire is correct. It is the seed of will passed down by the first Hokage-sama. Ayane answered bluntly. For those who grew up in Konoha Village, the first Hokage was a very great and amazing ninja. He ended the disputes in the troubled times of the Warring States period and established the system of one country, one village. Konoha can have today's brilliance, and it is inseparable from the outstanding contribution of the original Hokage. Ayane's words made Shiraishi clap and applaud, as if applauding Ayane's answer. Really? That ninja is indeed a remarkable man. But why does the Will of Fire clearly mention the need to protect young children, but now it wants to send children under the age of 10 to the battlefield? Isn't this very contradictory? Of course. Speaking of this, Ayane couldn't answer. Instead, she was stunned. Although he really wanted to refute, what Shiraishi said didn't seem to be irrational. Because this kind of thing is really happening in Konoha Village. Haven't you seen the truth of the matter? Let's change the angle. Try to turn everything inside into equality and the Will of Fire that loves each other. Why do you continue the tradition of the Hyuga family? Could it be that after you were labeled as a slave, will you really love anyone again? See the clan that enslaved you as a family. Then you were really amazing. You should not be humbled into the dust, right? After listening to Shiraishi's Will of Fire deviant remarks, Ayane's eyes suddenly became complicated. She leaned back on the tree, unable to say anything, and was struggling in her heart. Thinking about it carefully, what Shiraishi is talking about is not crooked ways, but the truth that is obvious to everyone. That's right, I was imprinted with the caged bird curse by the people of my clan, and I was marked as a slave. What else in the Hyuga clan deserves my deep love? Always promote friendship and mutual assistance, everyone will be a family of the Will of Fire, and as a result indulge the cruel tradition of the Hyuga clan. Why doesn't Hokage restrict and abolish it? Is the person who separates the family born to be a slave of the clan? Is the life and dignity of the separated family so insignificant? Why would they do this? Treating the tribe as slaves, is that what the so-called family should do? Ayane only sees the cold-blooded and ruthless side of the family at the moment. Ayane also suddenly realized that the Will of Fire she had learned was so hypocritical and ridiculous. Gradually, even everything in this village made me feel extremely dirty and disgusting. What are you going to do? I don't believe that you, who hide his strength in school, don't have any unknown purpose. Ayane hesitated for a moment, then asked in a low voice. There is a purpose, but it is a bit too much to say that it is unknown. In your eyes, can I still be more hypocritical than the Hyuga clan and Konoha? Shiraishi laughed a bit and said. Ayane's words made him disagree. He is not doing something shameful. He just explained the truth to Ayane, helping her get out of despair and regain her strength. And this kind of truth, Ayane can't refute it, and there is no need to refute it. Because everything Shiraishi said is based on the truth, no matter how you try to cover it up or pour dirty water on it, this is a fact that seems to exist. Shiraishi stepped back and let go of Ayane's body. The steady smile contained an undeniable power, which made Ayane lose her mind immediately. I simply think this village and this world are rather boring. Whether it's the ongoing war outside or the Will of Fire in the village, to me, it's just a boring thing. Shiraishi didn't think his posture was very arrogant, he just expressed his true inner thoughts. Although the Will of Fire is the will created by the god of shinobi, Shiraishi believes that anyone who has enough understanding of society will dismiss this illusory and empty will. There is nothing commendable about this will. It's not just vague in content, because even those who inherit this will can't fully implement it. This is the greatest tragedy. In the final analysis, it is Shiraishi and the residents of Ninja World who have different understandings of society, the world, and the realm of comprehension, which caused this ideological deviation. So, Ayane, entrust all the hatred and grievances in your heart to me. I will bear this pain with you, because now we are the ones who truly understand the truth of the Will of Fire. While speaking in a gentle voice, Shiraishi stretched out his palm steadily. Ayane also stretched out her hand involuntarily. In this short moment, she felt that she would be dominated by this boy in front of her in the future. But she has no regrets. She hates her family. She also began to hate this village full of hypocrisy and emptiness. I want to live a more real life, living with flesh and blood. I don't want to be anyone's slave, I want to be happy and live freely. Shiraishi put his other hand on Ayane's face, and gently wiped away the tears from the corners of her eyes. That's fine, I'll help you wipe away your tears. Remember, always show hatred for the Hyuga clan in your eyes, because the more you hate them, the more assured they will be of you. Well, I see, Shiraishi-kun. Seriously, I didn't expect you to be such a scary person. Ayane stroked her long black hair, showing a sigh-like smile, with a faint blush on her face. Scary. When Shiraishi heard Ayane's comment, he shook his head and said with a smile. What are you talking about? I'm not even a shinobi now, just an unknown person in the shinobi world. You have to remember this, Ayane. Shiraishi looked up at the moon that had risen in the night sky. The moonlight was gentle and peaceful, and the shining light made the dark woods feel warmer. The moonlight tonight is really beautiful. It seems that tomorrow will be a sunny day. Yes. If you like this video, please like, comment, share and most importantly subscribe. Also click on notification bell and set it on all.